morning. You know, I never thought when the voice of God said, put away your electronic devices, the first thing that came to mind was, I got to turn off my beeper. How many people know what a beeper is here? All right, good. I'm not that old. And it's good to see that in-home dining or in-room dining is still closed. So we're getting people here this morning. Welcome to the Mayor's Business and Business Leaders Plenary Breakfast. Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman, the chair of the Mayor's Business Council, unfortunately couldn't be here with us today. So it's my honor to preside over today's breakfast. First, let me take this opportunity to thank the Target Corporation. Where's Target Corporation? There you are. Bright and early. And of course, Starbucks. Where's Starbucks? Yeah, okay, you definitely had your coffee this morning. We'll be hearing from both companies later in the session. And now, let me call U.S. Conference of Mayors CEO and Executive Director Tom Cochran to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Mayor Suarez, for being there with me in the Business Council. You know, we've had Zoom calls with so many of you through the years and through these months of COVID, and we really appreciate you, Mr. President, for supporting our Business Council. And we appreciate the Business Council members for being with us through COVID. We gained membership, and we now have over 140 members of our Business Council. And we look forward to continuing our commitment to work with America's mayors and to promote public-private partnerships. We have a P3 standing committee. We look forward to have you there with us in that effort. And I'm pleased to report that the Best Practices Report, which was Doug Palmer helped start that many years ago, and we published that in Reno, and it was mailed to all the members. If you need a copy of this is the best practices from our Business Council members. Please, Judy Reed and Jerry Powell have copies. We'd love to. Next couple of months, we will also reach out to do our best practices report for the 2023. We appreciate your support, and we know that money is now coming out of Washington, and come into the church and let us worship. Y'all know what I mean. 28 new Business Council members. We welcome all 28 new who have joined us since last year. So the business influence in this organization continues. They're listed on the screen. New Business Council members, can you please stand so we can give you a hand? Companies with 15 plus years of the Business Council members. There are 20 companies that have supported this Mayor's Business Council for 15 years. Thank you for your continued support. I also want to thank our 8 platinum partners, and you know what platinum is, it's the highest, for their support of the Conference of Mayors. We want to ask them to stand and be recognized. You know, when Moses came down off the mountain, they had to have a steering committee. So when we created this Business Council, y'all wanted everything. And I said, no, we got to have a steering committee to figure out what the hell we do, what we don't do. And we were very concerned about the Business Council getting involved in policy and things like that. And when we do need you to help straighten people out on the Hill, we will. And so we want to thank the steering committee and the co-chairs and ask them to stand and be recognized. So I want to now introduce David Goldwater. David is the Vice Chair of President and Senior Policy at Stantec, who's the Chair of our Business Steering Committee. David?
Thank you very much, Tom. I want to thank Tom Cochran and staff here at USCM for putting on such a fantastic conference. Thus far, it's been jam-packed. It is absolutely phenomenal to see all of us back full bore this year. It's back and then some. I think this is probably one of the best attended winter conferences we've ever had. Also want to take the time to thank President Suarez, Vice President Shivi, and our second Vice President, Mayor Andy Ginther, as well as thank all the support of the 144 current Business Council members. We are here and always come to this event. I've been coming to the U.S. Conference of Mayors for about 20 years. It's an amazing group of people, and we're here to just do what we can to make sure that as business members we can support the many, many things you have going on in your communities. So please know that we're here to be a resource at any time for you as mayors. And if I can do anything for you personally, Stantec is always happy to help with infrastructure issues, but if I can do anything for the mayors or if I can do anything for any of my fellow business council members at any time, always available to you. So appreciate you all being here early in the morning, and look forward to seeing many of you over the course of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I'd like to call the Business Council Steering Committee Co-Chair, Charles Hales. Charles is the Urban Planning Cross-Sector Director at HDR. Charles?
Good morning. We have quite a lineup this morning, so I'm mindful of Franklin Roosevelt's admonition to people in just this situation where he said, be brief, be sincere, be seated. So I just want to make three very brief points of my own. One, to thank you. Mayor Suarez, you've gone out of your way to cultivate a sound relationship with the business community, and I just want you to know that the Business Council has noticed and appreciate that extra effort. Secondly, just a point about humility. HDR is a design firm, and we do projects all over the country, all over the world with our 12,000 employee owners. And we always try to remember that we're designing we're designing projects in places that people call home. That's really an awesome responsibility. And then finally, just an opportunity for you to take home some ideas. I'm very proud of this book. It's called Ending Global Sprawl, Urban Standards for Sustainable Development. We put this book together for the World Bank, particularly our distinguished colleague, Peter Calthorpe. There's a supply of these out in the lobby if you'd like to take one home. If we run out, let me know, and I'll give you one by mail. HDR's not here just because I'm a former mayor, and it's so delightful for me to be back.
Former mayor.
That's right. There is life after mayor. It's wonderful for me to be back among my brothers and sisters, current and alumni mayors. But HDR is here because we believe in what you do. The policies and investments that you make are creating a more livable, equitable, and sustainable community for all of us. And HDR is very proud to be your partner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate you. Thank you, Charles, former mayor. Thank both of you, David and Charles, and we look forward to continue to work with you on the steering committee. Mr. President, come back out here. Thank you, everybody.
I like the red tie, red shirt combo.
Go Dogs!
Go Dogs! 2 years in a row they won. I got to hear this thing for 2 years. My entire presidency, all I hear about is the Georgia Bulldogs. Anyhow, as mayors and business leaders gather this morning at this breakfast, one thing that now brings us together are the common challenges and common opportunities that we share. COVID-19 has changed downtowns, and it's changed how and where people work. And in many instances, mayors and business leaders are working together to adapt to this new reality. Now I want to invite two great people to the stage to join me for this discussion. Please welcome our new chair on the conference's Technology and Innovation Standing Committee, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, and Starbucks Executive Vice President and Chief Communications Officer, Aranthan A.J. Jones II. Glad to meet you. Heard a lot of good things. Hey Jay, good to see you, brother. You good? How long have you been on the job, Mayor?
Well, I've been on job 1 year, 20 some odd days, but I've been elected 4 times, so I got this. This is do it in my sleep.
No big deal. Well, I heard a lot of great things. It's good to finally meet you in person. And AJ, it's great to see you.
Same to you as well.
Great. So with cities and businesses alike are coping with so many challenges in the wake of the pandemic and are still recovering, as we know, in so many different ways. Both of you came into your current leadership roles at such a pivotal time. Mayor Harrell, please share some insights about why you decided to run for mayor of Seattle in 2021.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to give you a heartfelt impromptu answer. You know, my journey always starts on my knees, and I think my wife of 30 years says, "Are you begging or are you praying?" And well, a little both.
A little bit of both.
But in all seriousness, when I saw what was happening in Seattle, and I think indeed in our country, things are just so radioactive, so toxic, so volatile. And I said, I think the effective mayors will find a way to truly, sincerely, authentically reach everyone, either from the far left or far right, in the middle, and often the middle is silent. And so I thought he or she has to be bold enough to start and create new ideas, because we are redefining our country, redefining our city. So started on my knees, and I'm stronger when I get up. I always say I'm strongest on my knees, but I get even stronger when I stand. And I think that we all have this opportunity right now to redefine our cities and redefine this country. So I think I was just had the support enough to do it, and having fun every day.
Well, we're fortunate to have you, and I know as a mayor at the other sort of extreme part of the country, but one that's focused on technology and obviously building an ecosystem. I look forward to continue to work with you. AJ, what has drawn you to a leadership role at Starbucks at such a critical time for business?
Well, first of all, it's just so wonderful to be with you today. And before I get started, I'm a Southerner. Let's give a round of applause for the mayor for just hosting us here, allowing us to be here, allowing us to have this conversation. It's been a long time since we've been back together again. And so I must say to you that when one thinks about why should you contribute your assets, your ideas, your insights to the world of business, there has been no more time than to be authentic in one's leadership. And if I had to think about both platform, impact, and also the radius in which we control at Starbucks, because we are a company of connection, I said to myself, what better way can I contribute both my insights, my talents, and a little bit of the knowledge my mom knocked in my head from time to time to be able to actually move the country forward. I do think that in many respects, the role of corporate America, and more importantly of a company like Starbucks, is to be both a haven and a ladder. That we are to be a haven and a protector of those who are seeking opportunity, possibility, and change in their lives, and a ladder to equity and equality. And so for that being said, I couldn't think of a better time, a better place to do it.
Thank you so much. Mayor,
I got to do a check.
Go ahead.
You're not running for mayor anytime soon. All right.
listen, you got to be careful, you know what I mean? These business guys, they look good, they sound good, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, next thing you know, their name pops up on the ballot. That ain't good. I can tell you that much. So, Mayor, that's very wise on your part. So obviously we're living in a dynamic world, Mayor. How do you see public-private partnerships define collaboration and innovation going forward?
It's going to be critical to our success. I do not take Starbucks for granted. All of the work they're doing to help fund some important projects, whether it's we're in our homeless strategies, just chipping in hard dollars, whether it's helping fund what we call mid-ambassadors, which are a non-armed response to safety and cleanup in downtown Seattle. We have Microsoft and Amazon putting in literally hundreds of millions of dollars into housing. And many of these large companies, I'm dealt a good hand some of you mayors would want. I mean, we're the home of some very successful companies. But they take their corporate social responsibility goals very seriously. And people forget when they start bashing business that it's comprised of individuals, many of whom have hearts and souls, and they want to do good, and they realize that the decay in a city is largely caused when you're extracting resources from it. Money is a finite resource. So I'm very blessed to have partnerships that when I need it, they come. And sometimes it's small things. For example, when many of you had to figure out how do you regulate or not regulate the rideshare industry. And so when I started meeting with companies like Uber and Lyft, I said, well, demonstrate as I'm a policy leader and I was president of our council for 2 terms, I said, do you care about the community? And one wrote a $10,000 check to a small athletic team. That was like $1 million. New uniforms, new equipment, play field, charges. And while not a lot of money in the big scheme of things in terms of Microsoft putting in, north of $500 million as they have, it was huge for the lives of these kids that matter. So these partnerships are going to be critical, and I don't go begging. I go with the charge of all boats rise when you care and you demonstrate. And by the way, you are all in the consumer business. These are users of your products and services. These are not enemies to you. So they understand the importance of a great city. They understand public safety. They understand climate change. So I just think we have a great opportunity in front of us, and sometimes we have to be louder than the people that are saying other, I think perhaps, anti-business or anti-jobs rhetoric. Then we have to be louder and more organized.
And in some cases, it seems like it's almost anti-American. And I'll tell you, Mayor, I think one of the most important things that you said, among many important things, was you don't take Starbucks for granted. And I think you don't take any of your businesses for granted. And I think that's an incredibly important, component. As a president of the Conference of Mayors, and some of them co-chairs mentioned this when they spoke, we've really put an emphasis on our business council. We value them, and we value their input. We create the agendas in part based on creating value for them, because we want it to be a collaborative process. We don't want it to just be about us, right? We want it to be about how can we build value for them, and how can we create collaborations that as you said, Mayor, that sort of rise all tides for their customers, which are our constituents. Now, AJ, can you share a little bit about how Starbucks is transforming its business in Seattle and across the country?
Well, first of all, you mentioned it before, and I do think the importance around having partnerships with mayors, but mayors who are intuitive enough to say, I have an issue, I have a problem, or I have an idea, who can align with me in reference to it? That has allowed for us to unlock a number of different things. One, for instance, would be our Community Development Financial Institution Program, our CDFI program, which has allowed for us to use our resources and not only transform the blocks or the neighborhoods or the communities that we're in, but actually be a partner with the cities in a way in which they want to think about the financing and the improvement, if you will, across the various landscapes that they're trying to develop. By doing that, we also recognize we can then shine both light and also interest, because we recognize that when we come in on a block, other retailers are going to come with us. Other people are going to see with us too as well. And I want to give a shout out to one of our incredible partners, Target, too as well. We have an incredible partnership with them, and oftentimes we've been able to work together on a number of different issues in communities across this country. The second piece is we have a program called our SCAP program, which basically is our program for individuals who want to go to college while being a barista or working at our stores. Now, mind you, while this program is anchored, if you will, at Arizona State University and provides a number of different degree opportunities and programs, that's available for every Starbucks partner wherever they are. So as you're thinking about skilling, upskilling, or being able to drive opportunities to be able to expand the talent pool in your cities, this is a way to be able to do that and also be able to drive that opportunity too as well. The other dynamic that I want to kind of raise is we spent now almost about $8 billion, if you will, within our diversity supplier program. The reason why that's so important, let me be clear, is when you think about the small business to medium business to tertiary business to intermediary and into large businesses, they at some point have to have that first, second, and third contract, and then the people who can come in and support them and give them resources to be able to scale and build. When you have a company like ours, not only does that bring, if you will, both authenticity and also reputation, but then it also provides other assets that then allows for them to be able to scale to then grow too as well. So that allows for transformation to happen in their areas and their locations. And the last piece, and Mayor Suarez, I have to thank you for your partnership in reference to this too as well, being thoughtful about the community attributes that we must include in our store design, our store builds. We're so happy. We just recently opened a new store in November in Little Havana. Thank you so much for making that possible.
Amen.
That has allowed for us to be able to not only, again, be a haven for those, but also a ladder as well in neighborhoods where many people may have said, that's not a place for us to go, and we will go there. So thank you again for the question.
Let me tell you, AJ, the Cubans love the coffee.
Yes.
Okay. and you know, I can understand why Mayor Harrell is concerned, because you're the only person I met that can match your shirt with your tie and the handkerchief and the little flower thing all at the same time. I don't know how you do that, man. We got to talk
Now,
about the tailor.
Mayor Harrell has very high expectations. Let me be clear.
So, anyhow, Mayor, listen, your vision for One Seattle has obviously guided your work in the past year. Can you talk a little bit about what guided you, what's your guiding principle, and what are some of the successes this year that you want to tackle in the upcoming year?
Sure, thank you, Mayor Suarez. So in Seattle, we have an interesting dilemma. We are sort of a victim of our success. We're one of the most affluent cities in the country per capita, but we've also created a subclass of poverty. And when I took office, we had a lot of homeless camps everywhere. I think we had, and I try to use, I'm a former telecom lawyer, so I try to use statistics when I look at things. But we had over 80 parks that were completely unusable and open areas with shelters. We had, again, just the signs of poverty and mental illness and drug issues everywhere. So I came up with the idea of One Seattle. And in One Seattle, we lead with listening and understanding and trying to look at everything through the lens of the person that's affected by the policy or my executive decision. We have a strong mayor system. So I have a $7.5 billion budget, 12,000 employees, north of 40 departments. And I said, we will demonstrate listening. And so I went to every police precinct, met with every officer. Sometimes these are 3 a.m. calls. And I said, in a world where everybody's talking about defunding, I said, well, if we fund our police and we do it the right way, we don't starve a department from resources. We want to optimize their performance. And they need the officers to know what my expectation is as their mayor. So I would advise many of you mayors to do it, and it was an incredible experience. We also looked at one of our gems, the Woodland Park Zoo. If you visit Seattle, we have a world-class zoo. We had camps everywhere, and so we had to offer housing and shelter to people, and we had 89 referrals come out of that. In One Seattle, we had 1,800 referrals for homelessness to shelter people. But we lead by listening. All of my departments we had to develop what's called a unified care team. And a unified care team has a strong presence. Social workers, and we try to tap in people from faith communities, and people are willing to help, and we approach it in a unified way to do what we have to do. So our One Seattle gives us the conceptual, the framework, if you will, to realize we are a compassion city. My most precious asset are my people. And I had to build entry points for the people to help out with the problems. Because you mayors, you're blamed for everything.
Yeah.
And when I am blamed, I said, okay, I own what I must do, but are you willing to help? And that's our One Seattle concept, and it's paying dividends in everything that we do.
Yeah, it's a tremendous challenge, like you said. 80 parks, I can't even wrap my head around that. And I think we should do something, and something an off topic to talk to Tom about. There are a lot of American cities where their success is their weakness, in a sense, right? In other words, certainly Miami falls in that category for sure on the housing side, where we've been so successful at attracting capital and new businesses to our city that has driven housing prices and obviously commercial rental prices up, and that makes it harder, right? And so I think that's a conversation we need to have as a nation. But AJ, take us home, 30 seconds. Who's your tailor?
So first of all,
Come on, bro. Come on.
I
try to get it out of you, man.
All I do is just sell
maybe
coffee.
you just give up the goods. Give up the goods, man.
But, I appreciate that. But here's what I will say to you. I'm gonna go a little old school here. I was growing up in the church structure where it said that without vision, people perish.
Amen.
And the reality is what you've heard today, particularly from Mayor Harrell and also from Mayor Suarez and many of you, if you have vision,
Amen.
the partnership exists in companies like us and others to be able to make sure that people don't perish. And I would say to you that as the country is now dealing with this question about who is the authentic voice for the people, who are the authentic leaders for the people, where are the authentic spaces for the people, it is for us, incumbent upon us to both follow and create vision and then bring works behind it. Because we know without works, faith is dead. With that being said, thank you all
Thank you,
so
gentlemen.
much. I am
Appreciate
grateful
you.
and looking forward to this.
Yeah, good to see you. Let's connect. I want to get your number. Thank you, brother. Looking good, man. Looking good. Very cool. All right. That was a great session. And now I'd like to introduce Target's Vice President of Asset Protection, Oscar Arango. Oscar has over 30 years of leadership experience in the retail loss prevention industry. He's a great strategic leader and a creative problem solver with a demonstrated ability to drive strong results. He's committed to making sure that business is not only profitable, but effective as a corporate citizen. Please welcome Oscar to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning. It's great to be here in DC this week, and I'm honored to have a moment to speak on behalf of Target. I also want to recognize a delegation of mayors from Minnesota. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for all you do for communities in Target's home state. My apologies for the Vikings, but there's always next year. The events of the last few years have required us to seriously scrutinize common practices across industries. And that's especially true in retail. The world has become an increasingly volatile, unpredictable, and complex place. Business has shifted. Expectations have changed. And like all of you, I often find myself saying, ever since 2020, and fill in the blank, because whatever you're talking about is probably different than what it was before. You can blame the pandemic, social unrest, a changing crime landscape, or public conversations on the role of law enforcement. But recent societal shifts have forced the retail community to take a critical look at safety, security, and the broader community. When you really dig into the business of assets protection, you realize that the challenges we face in stores are a symptom of greater societal influences at play. Crime doesn't happen in a vacuum. Root causes like food and housing insecurity, substance abuse, mental health, and economic strains can intersect in ways that disrupt our communities. At Target, our culture emphasizes caring, growing, and winning together, not just as a company or team, but as a community. And in keeping with our culture, we asked whether the best way to keep our team and guests safe was to have a blanket approach to crime that emphasized, or arguably overemphasized, arrest. We needed to take into consideration the human aspect of it all and focus on being supportive wherever we can. This thinking materialized with the introduction of a new role, the Assets Protection Outreach Coordinator, or as we call them, APOCs. Like everyone in assets protection, they're committed above all to the safety of our team and our guests. But they approach that commitment with a unique set of skills and some tools you might not expect to find in a security toolbox. Their role focuses on community outreach in our highest need markets. They're tasked with identifying and building relationships with city and community resources that address some of the underlying causes of crime. And armed with these relationships and resources, they set out to make things better for guests experiencing some of those challenges. Whether it's through coaching and training our team, hosting support events, or interjecting in a shoplifting incident to find alternative solutions, this role leads with humanity by dealing with the person and not the act. We currently have 11 APOCs across the country, and the impact that they're making is starting to be felt. In just over a year, these 11 team members have built relationships with dozens of partner organizations, and they've worked one-on-one with more than 5,000 guests. I'd like to share a quick video of how this comes to life in the past year.
What leading with humanity really means to me is making sure all my interactions are led with and guided by respect and empathy. It means really seeing the person in front of me and connecting with them on a human level.
What I'm really excited and passionate about is connecting all the dots for folks, from the resources to the volunteer opportunities, using the tools Target already has to make a larger impact.
It's the awareness that we are more than a simple statistic or a number that inputs into a metric. We are complex and dynamic, diverse and evolving, interesting and resilient. And like anything else, those connections make us stronger, better, safer.
We are engaging with our guests through an empathetic approach. We are practicing humanity and leading as a partnership.
Some really cool stuff there, and reminders of why Target values our partnership with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Moving forward is best done together. We're pleased to announce the continuation of our grant program for 2023 and look forward to what's to come. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Mayor Andrew Ginther of Columbus, Ohio. Mayor Ginther is currently serving as our second vice president and the chair of our Metro Economies Council. And we're so honored that he'll be hosting this summer's 91st annual meeting in Columbus, which is a beautiful city, by the way. I was there this year. So please join me in welcoming and thanking Columbus, Ohio Mayor Andrew Ginther. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's a big clap. I don't get claps like that. All right. I'll let that one go for now. Don't get used to it, Andy, okay?
I'm not. I'm going home as a mayor. So, good morning. Good morning, friends. It is great to be with you. What an incredible winter meeting. Let's give it up for President Suarez, Vice President Sheevy, the incredible staff at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I am so excited to be back with you all in person, learning from, sharing ideas, and making our cities stronger, healthier, and safer all over America. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you have not been to Columbus? Awesome. Well, we can't wait to welcome you. For the first time in our city's history, we're going to host the summer meeting in June, and we are so excited to show off the incredible people, places, and history of America's Opportunity City. Back home, we always say, the sun is always rising in Columbus, and we can't wait to greet the dawn in June with all of you. Here's a little taste of what we've got in store for you.
You got to come see it for yourself.
It is a vibe. I have to tell you, we're still traumatized when I see the Ohio State Buckeyes by the BS pass interference flag call in the national championship game at University of Miami. So trauma is still there. But I'll tell you, I've gotten a chance as president to see some of these incredible cities, and I think many people would be surprised by how incredible some of these American cities are that we hear about maybe every so often, but have maybe never visited. And I was in Cincinnati as well, and watched my Dolphins go down to the Cincinnati Bengals. Another difficult moment in my year, but I saw. Obviously, we have a great mayor there, but great city, just an amazing American city. So I would urge you to take some time this year as you plan your vacations and your travel, and go pick a city that maybe you've heard of, but maybe you haven't seen, and go visit it, because I think you'll be surprised, pleasantly surprised, by how rich our country is and the diversity of our cities. Next on the agenda is the American Institute of Architects, Kimberly Dowdell. A licensed architect. During her 2019 through 2020 term as the national president of the National Organization of Minority Architects, NOMA, she worked to increase opportunities for women and people of color to gain more access to the building professions. Kimberly's overarching mission is to improve people's lives by design. Please welcome Kimberly.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Kimberly Dowdell, and I'm proud to represent the American Institute of Architects as first vice president, president-elect. I'm a Detroit native and a Chicago-based architect and principal with global design firm HOK. On a personal note, I absolutely love cities. Over the past 4 decades, I've lived in 7 different cities around our nation and abroad. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the work that you do as mayors to make cities work. That is something that mayors and architects actually have in common. We are both problem solvers who are empowered to shape our cities and improve people's lives. I've come before you this morning with the intention of demystifying what architects do. Simply put, we design the places that make cities work. Thus, if something in your city isn't working, call on us at AIA to support you. Not only do architects design buildings, but we also design processes, policies, and solutions to some of our society's most intractable problems. Architects are the civic problem solvers you didn't know that you needed. We take pride in being able to help you see and create the future. Another thing people may not know about architects, on average, it takes about 12 years to become a licensed architect. During that time frame, we undergo extensive training in the art of design thinking. Through our work and examinations, we are cultivated to serve our professional duty, which is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. We don't just create beautiful objects, we literally design the way that people live, work, and play. The AIA is committed to advancing climate action and equity for all. We are working hard across over 200 chapters to support our members and their communities in leveraging design to make impact. If you want to build a more sustainable and equitable future for your city, I urge you to get your leadership team engaged with your local AIA chapter. You can connect with us via the QR code on the screen, or you can find me here at the conference. In closing, I would like to thank the U.S. Conference of Mayors for inviting AIA to speak with you today. As an alum of the Mayors Institute on City Design program, I'm so delighted to see some of my mayor friends from that experience here. And if you haven't already participated in this wonderful program, I encourage you to do so. Finally, if your city doesn't have a chief architect role established to advise your administration on key matters impacting your physical growth and the well-being of your citizens, this is the perfect time to put one in place. Please reach out to the AIA for more information about the benefits of activating a chief architect for your city. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Kimberly. Throughout his distinguished career in public service as a mayor, as a state senator, and as governor of Iowa, our next speaker has a remarkable record of making positive change in the lives of those he has served. As the 32nd Secretary of the United States Department of Agriculture, his department has been hard at work strengthening rural and historically underserved communities, responding to the threat of climate change, and creating good-paying jobs for American agricultural workers. He is also spearheading a transformation of our food economy by ensuring that food systems of today and the future are more secure and more competitive globally. Please join me in welcoming Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack.
Thank you very, very much. Good morning, folks. Thanks very much for the opportunity to be with you this morning. I'm excited about this chance because I understand and appreciate the role that mayors play on the front lines in cities. As was indicated, I served as mayor for 5 years in a small town in southeast Iowa. I know that you're on the front line of so many issues, and one of those issues is food security and nutrition security. As you know, last year the White House sponsored a conference on food security and nutrition security, where we talked about the importance of expanding access to healthy foods and choices. I'm here today to ask the mayors to get engaged in this effort at an even higher level and to give you several things that you could do in your communities that would allow us the opportunity to expand access to healthy choices in foods especially for your children. First and foremost, we are in the process of expanding and significantly modernizing our WIC program. This is the program that provides nutrition assistance to moms and infants and children under the age of 6. The sad reality of this program, despite the important work that it does, is that nearly half of those who are eligible for the program do not participate in the program. So we're calling on mayors across the country to make a concerted effort to connect to your WIC agency in your community and to encourage moms and with young children the opportunity to take full advantage of the WIC program. It can provide a wide range of assistance and help, especially during a difficult time with food prices where they are today. Secondly, you all have a connection with schools in your community. Some of you may even actually be in charge of operating your schools. And the chances are that you may not necessarily be in a state yet that has seen the light of universal free meals for children in schools across your city. So that if you are the mayor and you are in a position to talk to your school officials, encourage them to look at community eligibility. Community eligibility is a process that we have at USDA in which if you have a high percentage of free and reduced lunch kids, you have the opportunity to essentially waive the requirements of applications and having parents fill out forms to be able to qualify their children and essentially provide, at least in that school district, access to universal free meals for all of the children. We know from the pandemic experience that we saw a significant increase in utilization of the school meal program during the pandemic. This is an opportunity to expand the use of that program. We're also going to be in the process of continuing to upgrade the nutritional quality of those meals and would certainly appreciate the assistance of mayors across the country encouraging the school districts to embrace the nutrition standards to ensure that our kids get the best opportunities and the best meals possible. We know there is a connection between quality meals at schools and quality learning. And finally, the SNAP program is one that you are very familiar with, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. You may not be aware of the fact that nearly 80% of those folks on SNAP are either senior citizens living on fixed incomes, they may be working moms and dads, or they may be people with disabilities. Sometimes there is this notion that there are a lot of folks out there that are taking advantage of the program. The reality is that there is a work and training requirement for those able-bodied adults who do not have children and who are in a position to work. So understanding and appreciating the reach of this program, making sure that your senior citizens understand and appreciate the opportunity to take advantage of this program, we can see an expansion of that effort as well. So those are 3 steps that you can take on the WIC program, the school nutrition program, and the SNAP program to create greater access and greater affordability for food in your communities. Let me take the last several minutes of my time today to talk to you a little bit about what the Department of Agriculture is doing in transforming our agricultural and food system in this country. For about 50 years, we've been focused at the Department of Agriculture and in U.S. agriculture on increasing productivity. It was all about planting French row to French row, as a former Secretary of Agriculture once encouraged folks to do. The reality is that that has caused our food system to become quite consolidated. This year we enjoyed, in 2022, a record farm income year, but sadly, more than 50% of our farmers had negative farm income. In other words, they didn't make money farming, so they had to have an off-farm income. in order to be able to keep the farm. We are in the process of beginning to expand significantly the number of revenue sources and income opportunities for farmers so that we can create greater health, greater resilience, greater sustainability in that system. And this is where cities come into play. For example, we are encouraging more urban agriculture. Literally every single year, the Department of Agriculture provides millions of dollars in grants for planning and implementation of programs that encourage urban agriculture. We're also encouraging innovation in agriculture in urban settings with vertical and indoor agriculture. Would encourage you to take a look at the opportunities that the Department of Agriculture can provide to your cities to embrace community gardens and urban agriculture. We're looking at ways in which we can expand processing capacity. We know that it has been too concentrated in this country, which limits the ability of farmers, but also is an opportunity as we look for ways in which we can expand processing and job creation. There's no reason why these processing facilities can't be located in cities across the United States. Just recently, we awarded a significant grant of millions of dollars to International Foods, which is located in Cleveland. This is a facility that essentially processes poultry for school feeding programs. This is an opportunity for this particular business to create additional 220 jobs in the Cleveland area, which will pay on average $22 an hour in wages. So it's an opportunity for you to understand and appreciate that there are grant opportunities at USDA that will be forthcoming in 2023 that cities ought to be encouraging participation in order to expand opportunity for processing. By expanding processing capacity, we give more markets to farmers, we create a bit of competition for what they grow, and we can improve farm income. We're also heavily engaged in the climate smart effort. We have 141 projects across the United States where we're now essentially investing over $3 billion over the next 3 to 5 years, encouraging farmers to embrace climate smart agricultural practices. Now, these are unique partnerships. They're partnerships between farmers and universities, minority serving institutions, food companies, retailers, major farm groups, conservation groups, environmental groups. What does it have to do with cities? Well, the reality is that these programs and these opportunities that farmers are going to embrace will reduce significantly greenhouse gas emissions connected to farming. They'll sequester more carbon. What does that do? It creates an opportunity for businesses in your cities that may need offsets to be able to work closely and collaboratively with American agriculture to utilize the benefits and the results of these climate smart practices in reducing their carbon footprint and their greenhouse gas emissions connected to whatever industry or business, making those businesses and industries healthier and more sustainable. It's also an opportunity as well to convert agricultural waste into a wide variety of new products in a bio-based economy. The reality is that we need a significant amount of new biofuel. Think about this for just a second. I certainly get electric cars, totally understand it. You know, if the battery wears out, you pull aside of the road and you use your cell phone, you call for help. But if you're in a plane and the battery wears out, how's that work? So the airline industry understands and appreciates that as it transitions to hydrogen fuel cells and longer lasting batteries, it's going to need a sustainable aviation fuel for the foreseeable future. This is a whole new industry in which agricultural waste and woody biomass from our forests can be converted into a fuel that allows our airlines to be competitive and sustainable at the same time. There's an opportunity as well for mayors to encourage the development of local and regional food systems. The chance for you to marry the opportunity for what farmers do around your city to marry it with what schools need in terms of providing fresh, affordable, nutritious foods. We have literally millions of dollars of grants in farm to school and local and regional food promotion and market development. So I'm encouraging you to think about the opportunities that the Department of Agriculture can present to cities all across this country, large and small. I know when I was the mayor of a county seat town that I had a responsibility not just to my community, but to the smaller communities surrounding me, because I understood that there were people that didn't necessarily want to live in my city, but they certainly wanted to work there. So it was encouraging for me to work with mayors of other small towns to make sure that they could provide the quality of life and the opportunity that was necessary for us to have a vibrant regional economy. Very few people realize and understand that the Department of Agriculture is in the business of financing and helping to build schools, hospitals, libraries, a wide variety of community facilities. We have a very aggressive community facility and loan program. We have a very aggressive water and wastewater treatment program. We have a very aggressive business and industry development program. We have a very aggressive housing program. In fact, if USDA were a bank, based on the number of loans that we have in our portfolio, I think we'd be at least in the top 15 banks in the country. Our loan portfolio is roughly $250 billion. We provide long-term financing for infrastructure for smaller populated communities. If you can get a 40-year loan with a fixed rate in today's world, that's an opportunity. And so I would encourage you, as you look at your relationships with communities around you and the responsibility that you have as a major city, perhaps, in your region, working with other local mayors to encourage them to understand and appreciate the opportunities that exist at the Department of Agriculture. So hopefully, as a result of this brief visit today, I've piqued your interest in what happens at the Department of Agriculture. In a sense, when people ask me which job I enjoyed better as a mayor, state senator, or governor, or secretary, I essentially say that being Secretary of Agriculture is like being mayor of lots of cities, because we basically do everything you do. It's like being governor of 50 states, because we do everything that a governor does. So it's encouraging you to understand and appreciate the full scope and range of activities at USDA and take full advantage of our programs. We have folks located in each and every one of the states where you're located that can help you and assist you in developing better nutrition and food security for your children, better opportunities for economic opportunity in the region, and embracing this notion of the new agriculture that's being developed at USDA. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity and hope you have a very fruitful conference.
Thank you, Secretary Visalak. Now I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Luis Gallardo. Luis is the founder and president of the World Happiness Foundation and the World Happiness Fest. He is also the author of Happitalism and the Exponentials of Happiness, and currently serves as director of the Gross Global Happiness Program at the United Nations University for Peace. For Luis, happiness is a human right and a life choice, as well as an enabler of human development and social innovation. Today, he will share with us the path to the pursuit of happiness starts in our cities. Before I welcome him onto the stage, I just want to say that Miami was ranked the happiest city in America, something that we're, yes. You can clap for me as loud as you clap for Andy, all right? I really want to see it. It's okay, thank you. And we really feel as a conference that has focused on mental health, which we think is such an important component of the fabric of our society, that we also focus on the best part of mental health, which is to be happy. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome onto the stage, Luis.
Thanks, Mayor Suarez and CEO Tom Cochran for the opportunity to address the critical topic of happiness and well-being at the strategic level. So we have many happy cities in the room. Who would label your city as a happy city? Anybody? Yes? I've been talking to many of you, and it's amazing to realize how happiness and well-being are critical, but however, we don't have the frameworks and we don't have the tools to make it credible and to build the narratives for human progress. So I'm here to address that. But let's learn from Plato first. Plato was asked, what makes a great city? And his answer was, city is what it is because our citizens are what they are. So we can be thinking of infrastructure, we can be thinking of bridges, policemen, but think that we are what the people are. If people are happy, the cities are going to be happy. So, and then we hold these truths when we look at the Declaration of Independence. Let's focus on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we've been talking about what is the search for meaning, what is the meaning that we want to give to our people and to our societies. Well, we have it there: liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness. Even the United Nations, 10 years ago, passed 2 resolutions, and we were behind them. One resolution is focusing on happiness as an holistic approach to human progress. And the second one is celebrating happiness as International Day of Happiness, which is March 20th. So if your city doesn't have a proclamation yet, please start writing it, because March 20th is International Day of Happiness, and it's been there for 10 years already. Even we have one goal, the Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which is really focused on make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. We've heard here from Mayor Francis Suarez, from Sergeant General Vivek Murthy, from Mayor Hillary Shivi, from Mayor Lever Stoney, Mayor Kay Gallego, Mayor Ron Nirenberg. We are all talking about this mental health crisis, but something amazing that we learned as well is that there is a roadmap. And the roadmap is based on compassion, is based on hope, is based on kindness, is based on love, gratitude, service, and a moral leadership. But let's focus on the intention. So if the intention is happiness, this is our proposal from the World Happiness Foundation. Let's create a framework that brings together all the resources and the management of the city into the overall goal and focus on happiness. Happiness is subjective well-being, and this framework connects our individual happiness with the well-being of everybody. This is a holistic approach that we are proposing to all the mayors, and we'll be working with you onward in order to activate this framework. So think, and this is a recommendation going forward, we have to think at least 3 different levels. It's about the city, it's about the organizations, and it's about the schools. We all have kids going to schools, we all have jobs, we all belong to cities. If we are able to articulate a strategy that connects all these 3 levels at the strategic partnership level, if we share best practice and we focus on regenerative leadership, this is going to help us to move from a strategy of prevention to another one of mitigation and a third one of regeneration. So let's think at all 3 levels. When we are in crisis, we focus on action. It's time to think about prevention, and it's time to think about regeneration. So the path to the pursuit of happiness starts in our city, and these are invitations to you all. Don't be, or actually be, the first mayor, as Mayor Francis Suarez said before, that can state that your city is the happiest city on earth. So we are here to help. We are here to walk this path together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. I get happy just thinking about how happy I am. Now I'm pleased to introduce you get punch drunk when you're up here all day long, you know, right? Now I'm pleased to introduce one of our nation's most revered pollsters and messaging experts. He has been with us for many annual meetings, winter meetings, and leadership meetings in the past. And he is with us today to discuss Uniting the United States, a new mayoral language for 2023. He's always helpful in enabling us to understand the state of our nation, how the public sees us and our priorities, and how we can best message our priorities to the public. Please join me in welcoming one of our good friends, a good conference friend, a good personal friend, someone I've learned a tremendous amount from, and someone whose books I recommend that you buy, particularly Words That Work. Please join me in introducing Dr. Frank Lentz.
Okay, there's no time for, I know that I always start with a joke, and I know that you guys enjoy the entertainment. So, but this is not a humorous time, so please take out your phones or your notepads, because I'm going to go through language that I think will be helpful to you, although I will tell you this. that we are more divided, we are more polarized than we have ever been in a country over the last 60 years. And I'm going to try to show you language and messaging and ideas that will unite us, that will address that divide. And I was a witness to it, because I was at Donald Trump's final official public event, December 23rd, 2020, the White House Christmas party. And after a couple hours, because I was really nervous, I finally got the guts to ask him, what does the J in Donald J. Trump stand for? You know what he told me? Genius. So I've been warned that there are a lot of Republican mayors in here. I understand that Bernie Sanders, I believe, is coming to speak to you all. Please tell him. I know you'll get a chance, because he takes feedback, that I so desperately wanted to be Secretary of Agriculture in a Sanders administration so that I could plant those magic trees where all the free shit grows from. Okay. And now the serious stuff. I know that we've got a lot, and this slide explains what this is all about. A lot of you are having challenges, issues with crime, but it's not crime. By definition, crime is failing. The public prefers, they want you to talk about public safety, the positive rather than the negative. And in fact, I'm showing you by 2 to 1. And it means the same thing. Making our streets and neighborhoods safe is a higher priority than reducing crime. And it means exactly the same thing. Instead of taking the negative framing, no matter what happens with political consultants, no matter what happens in the media, please, right now, in 2023, 2024, use the positive framing rather than the negative framing. Now, the problem is how angry we are. The gentleman who spoke just before me with the Happiness Institute, he's got something. There is something there. And the gentleman before him, Tom Vilsack, in what they're doing with the farming community, farms, teachers, there are professions that unite us. And this slide right here is the problem. And by the way, if Nancy Pelosi has one more facelift, that's what she's going to look like. Notice that I paused on that one because I know people are going to go, ugh. 72% of Americans are mad. We have a real crisis in this country. And every time I do this presentation, I show you how mayors are more trusted than legislatures, than Congress or Senate, than governors, than the president. I don't have to make that case anymore, you know that. But now it's time for you to address that negativity. And part of that negativity is look at the language that people use to describe democracy. This is democracy at its very best. Freedom, equality, constitutional. Here's how they frame, how they talk about democracy right now. Trouble, messy, bad, chaotic, shambles. This is a word cloud of the country. I'm scared out of my mind. I thought that I'd be long gone before this country ever reached this point. And I'm still here, and we have reached this point. And it's even worse for Congress. We ask them the question, what's the perfect way to describe the best Congress, the best member? Honesty, knowledgeable, accountable, trustworthy. Then we ask them, describe a typical member of Congress. I showed this to them, and they started laughing. And I had to bite my tongue not to yell at them, because this is where we are right now. This is the definition of a shit show. And the people in this room, even the people who are way back there, you guys are the only people who can fix this, because all the other elements of government doesn't work. One more about the situation, then I'm going to give you the answer. We ask, what are you most afraid of? Democrats, failure of democracy. And that's way down among Republicans. Republicans are afraid of losing our culture, our traditions. At the very bottom of what the Democrats fear. Another example of this. The highest priority, what should be encouraged, is respect for work and a family. That comes in dead last among Democrats. They prioritize equality, diversity, and justice, which comes in very low among Republicans. We don't agree on anything. We don't have the same values. We don't have the same priorities. We don't have the same anything. And that's why the language matters so much. So here's the first thing that you should take a picture of. What do they want out of local politics more than anything else? Results. Show me what the results are. Show me what you've done. And by the way, it's not getting it done because that is cheap. It's a track record of results. And anytime you can use an alliteration, that's a positive. Results and accountability matters more than anything else. So let's talk about what the challenges are right now. COVID changed everything. We've changed how we live our lives. We've changed where we work. We've changed where we live. You have an opportunity to address the new America because it's happening in every community, in every corner of the country. They have a different expectation for the future. Recognize this. Recognize that you know that things have changed. And if someone says to you, the economy, that's not what is scaring the public. And by the way, even though we said inflation here, I follow people through supermarkets to listen to how they shop, to see what they buy. It's kind of creepy. I got thrown out a couple times. I realized if you do that and you're wearing a raincoat, you're in deep trouble. No human being uses the word inflation except people at this table. It's about I can't afford that. It's too expensive. Stop using language that isn't what they understand or represent. In terms of what they want from you, please take a photograph of this because there's nothing that deals with issues here, but it's all how we live our lives. If you are male, your number one priority is having more money. If you're female, the number one priority is more time in your life. If you're young, you want a better lifestyle and work-life balance because you want no work and all life. And by the way, I've got 14 of my students from USC who are here. Where are my students? Oh, they're all back there. Yes, please, it's the next generation. And by the way, why did you take the shitty seats? You got open seats right here. Don't let them send you to the back of the bus, sit in the front of the room. And older people want no worries and less hassles. This is how you communicate to people. It's not whether you're conservative or liberal or progressive. It's helping them through their day-to-day life. So what do they want most in terms of the mayor? You got to tell them what your priorities are, and here's why. Values are about you, the mayor. Principles are about you, the mayor. Priorities are actually about them. Your priorities become their priorities. That's what they're looking for. Here's another example, because you're going to tell me that all of these are important. The best skill you can have is problem solving. And in fact, the way that you get reelected and the way that you deserve and earn your public support is if you're a problem solver. It's the number one attribute that they're asking from mayors, more so now than it has ever been. And even though they want to know the truth from you, they want you to be a critical thinker. Conflict resolution, problem solving beats all of that. So what are the attributes that matters most? Results, solutions, and getting things done. Say no to lobbyists. This is the top stuff. Let me show you what the bottom stuff is, because this is also frightening. Smart and intelligent comes in dead last. Be thankful for that. And I met a few of you over there, kind and compassionate. I get it. That's not, I'm going to go back because I want to emphasize results, solutions, getting things done. That's what matters most. And I know we got a bunch of business people in here. If you're a CEO of a company, that's the highest priority that the public has of you and for you, because there's a lot of talk and there's no action. I'm going to keep going. What do they want to hear from you? A detailed plan of action. I don't know how many mayors are here, but I will tell you that if you don't have a detailed plan of action, detailed, because they want to know that you've looked at the fine print, a plan because they want it written down, and action because they actually want it done. Every one of those words matters, and it beats everything else that's up here. Next, common sense. I keep reading websites, I keep saying, well, it's a progressive approach or a conservative approach, and that's all ideological, and that in itself is divisive. Common sense trumps all of it. You can be on the left, you can be on the right, it doesn't matter. The public is saying less politics, less partisanship, less the ideology, and more common sense. And notice a horrible way to communicate it, mainstream or centrist. Because I want you to see what works and what doesn't. And the deal here is, I read your language. I watch you on C-SPAN, I read your speeches, because there's something very wrong with me. And your language doesn't resonate. Here's the language that does. I've been working on this. This is an upgrade. I'm given the chance to speak to you all once every, usually 18 months or so. There's a lot of new stuff that's on here now. But what really matters here, imagine still the most powerful word in the English language. For those of you who speak, and by the way, I'm carrying this in my pocket. I don't have a joke. I'm just going to leave it here. So when Mayor Suarez comes out, I'll just say I left him a gift from Miami. And I do want to pay tribute to two people in addition to your executive director. Tom has been awesome to me. The mayor of New York spent 40 minutes with my students yesterday and mesmerized them with the stories of overcoming so many obstacles, so many challenges, which I know a lot of you have done. And the mayor of Miami for leading this organization and change and proving that even in times of great stress and strain, good leadership can really make a difference in the cities that you run. So to Mayor Adams and Mayor Suarez, I thank you all for what you've done for the country. And that was an applause line, and you all are sitting on your ass. Come on. If you remember, Jeb Bush had to beg for applause. I'll just insult you until you do it. Imagine is the most powerful word in the English language because it allows you to imagine life at perfection. And everyone who has an imagination, what they imagine in their heads, is automatically right because they can see it in their hearts. Peace of mind is better than security. Security means you need a gun or you need a knife or you need some sort of defense. Peace of mind, if you've got peace of mind, it is perfection in life. Restoring human dignity did not work 10 years ago. It does work today, particularly in the wake of the rise of Black Lives Matter and what happened to George Floyd. What they want from you and your government, and I quote, more efficient, more effective, and more accountable. That combination. You have to communicate to them what your first responsibility is. If you're a mayor, I should be able to ask you, and by the way, I need to mention two things. I only have a couple minutes. If any of you have a challenge coin, I'm a collector. Come find me after this is done. I'll be hiding in the, hello. Quickly. I'll be back there. And if there are any mayors in here who want to and would be willing to talk to my students, we're going to be in the Pan American room up on this floor for about an hour after this speech is done. Please come in. Engage them, they'll engage you, and they are brilliant, and it is my greatest thrill. They want you to work together side by side. You can actually see it. Unity is ideological. Working together side by side is visual, and that's why it's so powerful. And that one at the bottom, a meaningful, measurable track record of success, that indicates that you can prove it. It says that it's important, it says that it matters, and that's what they're looking from you. And one more. I know that you have people coming to talk to you about climate, as you should, and the environment. Here's the problem. Sustainability is the status quo. Sustainability to the average individual means it'll be just as good 100 years from now. That's not good enough for the American people. Cleaner, safer, healthier is better, and that's what they're looking for. I'm going to skip this. You can take a picture of it. There are things that I want... I wish I'd done this when I was a student. I would have had so much fun. It's not that so many of you use the word transformational. That doesn't work. Nobody really knows what transformational is, but they do what a new direction is. Rather than government Arrogance, which I hear in the frustration on the right. It's a government abuse of power. Another example. Stop calling it capitalism because the public thinks of Wall Street, CEOs, and billionaires. It's economic freedom because then they think of Main Street and small businesses and employees. Economic growth is an academic term. A healthy economy, healthy schools, healthy neighborhoods. If you're taking notes, write the word healthy and circle it because you can apply it to everything that you have because that indicates success, long-term success. They don't want metrics from you. They want solutions and results. Also, the problem with technology is that it breaks or that it's impossible to understand. Innovation is something that they get, that they understand, and they can use for themselves. Another chart. People aren't looking for more, they're looking for better. More is quantity, they actually want quality. Don't make a promise, politicians make promises. Don't make a pledge, used car salesmen make pledges. If you really want to prove it to them, you'll make a commitment because that's your reputation. One more on this slide. Human capital means you're putting a price tag on individuals. I know there are corporations here. Stop using human capital because that says to them that they don't matter. It's human talent. That's how you demonstrate respect for them. Oh, and there we go. Normally I take questions, but they wanted me to do this in 15 minutes. It is a privilege to be here, and I'm giving you, on behalf of the American people, I'm telling you that they still have faith in you. They've lost faith in their leadership. The level of negativity towards institutions has never been higher than it is today. Gallup, in the work that they put out about 6 weeks ago, in all the institutions, they're failing. The only institution, other than the military, that still has credibility are America's mayors, which is why it's such a privilege for me to be here. If you got a coin, please bring it. If you'll talk to my students just for 10 minutes, we'll be at the Pan American room. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, Frank, are you a movie buff, Frank? This reminds me of the movie Major Leagues. We're not so shitty. Okay? Love you, buddy. See you later. All right. We did not script that, okay? That was not scripted. I'd like to thank everyone who participated in today's session and all of you who have joined in to listen. For information on I actually feel bad for you who have joined in to listen. On upcoming sessions, please consult your printed agenda and on the app. This session has adjourned. Thank you.